Plato's Republic is his most famous and influential work, and arguably the most important book in the history of Western philosophy. It is a vast, intricate dialogue that, in one way or another, touches on almost every branch of philosophy: ethics, politics, psychology, metaphysics, and even aesthetics. But everything in it turns on a central question: what is justice and how can we attain it? Across 10 books, Plato uses this question to explore not only what makes a society just, but also what makes a person just, and whether justice is worth pursuing for its own sake. In this first book, Socrates begins this search in conversation with a group of Athenians. 3 definitions of justice are proposed by Cephalus, Polemarchus, and Thrasymachus, and each collapses under Socrates' scrutiny. But through these conversations, Plato introduces the central themes that will shape the rest of the dialogue: the tension between truth and persuasion, the nature of power, and the question of whether living justly makes us happier. The first definition comes from Cephalus, an elderly and prosperous man reflecting on old age. Freed from the passions of youth, he finds contentment in living honourably. For him, justice means telling the truth and paying one's debts. It sounds straightforward, honesty and obligation, but Socrates immediately tests it. Should we always tell the truth? And should we always pay back what we owe, even if doing so causes harm? If your friend lent you a weapon and later went mad, would justice require you to return it? Socrates' questioning shows that Cephalus' idea is incomplete, but it also raises deeper moral questions. Is justice about doing one's duty regardless of consequences, or about achieving the best outcomes overall? This gives us an opportunity to sketch 2 later traditions in moral philosophy. Kantian ethics, named after the philosopher Immanuel Kant, holds that morality is grounded in duty and universal principles. An action is right not because of its outcome, but because it is done from respect for moral law. For example, if honesty is a duty, we must tell the truth even when lying would bring better results. Kant would admire Cephalus' sense of obligation, though he would demand a clearer rational foundation for it. Utilitarian ethics, developed later by Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill, takes the opposite approach. It judges actions by their consequences. An act is right if it produces the greatest overall happiness for the greatest number of people. A utilitarian might therefore say that returning the weapon to your mad friend would be wrong, because the harm caused outweighs the duty to repay the debt. By contrast, virtue ethics, rooted in Aristotle and echoed in Plato himself, focuses not on rules or results, but on character, the cultivation of traits such as honesty, generosity, and courage. Cephalus' peace of mind, born from a lifetime of decent habits, reflects this spirit of virtue. Socrates, though, wants to move beyond examples to definitions. Justice, he insists, must be something more than a list of actions. It must be a quality of the soul itself. After Cephalus departs, his son Polemarchus takes up the argument. He suggests that justice means helping one's friends and harming one's enemies. This idea, drawn from the poet Simonides, feels plausible. Reward the good, punish the bad. But again, Socrates questions it. Can we always tell who our true friends and enemies are? What if we mistake good people for bad ones and harm those who do not deserve it? And even if we could identify them, can a just person ever do harm at all? Socrates points out that when we mistreat someone, we make them worse, just as when we mistreat a horse, we make it less skillful. Since justice is itself a virtue, it cannot make people worse. Therefore, it cannot be the role of the just person to harm anyone, friend or foe. Here, we might pause and ask, is Socrates right? Can justice ever involve causing harm, for instance in punishing wrongdoing? Or is punishment only just when it serves to correct rather than injure? The conversation now takes a dramatic turn with the arrival of Thrasymachus, the sophist, proud, impatient, and ready to charge a fee for his wisdom. He sneers at Socrates' endless questions and declares that justice is nothing but the advantage of the stronger. In other words, might is right. Justice, he says, is simply whatever benefits those in power. This view, which echoes the sophist's scepticism, strikes at the heart of Plato's concern with truth. If knowledge can be bought and sold, and if power defines morality, then reason gives way to rhetoric, and philosophy collapses into propaganda. Socrates challenges Thrasymachus by comparing politics to medicine. The true doctor seeks the patient's health, not his own profit. Likewise, a true ruler governs for the good of his citizens, not for personal gain. To rule for oneself alone is not mastery but corruption. Socrates goes further. The just soul, like the just state, functions harmoniously. Justice, he argues, is the excellence, the virtue of the mind. Injustice is its disease. Just as a diseased body cannot be healthy, a diseased mind cannot be happy. Thus, the just person whose soul is ordered by reason will live better and more happily than the unjust person whose soul is divided by conflict and greed. We might ask ourselves, does Socrates' argument convince us? Can we really say that a good person is always happier than a bad one? What about those who seem to flourish through deceit or tyranny? Plato's answer, explored throughout the Republic, is that appearances deceive. The tyrant's pleasures are fleeting, and his soul, though powerful, is inwardly enslaved. By the end of Book 1, Thrasymachus has fallen silent. Socrates has refuted each definition of justice, but he has not yet provided one of his own. This is only the beginning. The next book opens with Glaucon, Plato's brother, reviving Thrasymachus' challenge in a sharper form. Why should anyone be just at all? Before we move on to that challenge, it is worth asking a few questions for ourselves. Is justice, as Cephalus believed, a matter of obligation? Is it, as Polemarchus thought, a matter of loyalty? Or is it, as Thrasymachus claimed, merely a mask for power? And perhaps most importantly, does justice make us happy, or does it only restrain us? These questions mark the start of the greatest philosophical journey in history. Over the next 2 videos, we will follow Socrates and his companions as they build, piece by piece, an image of the just city and the just soul, and along the way, a vision of what it means to live a truly good life.